conversations for change, because the world is ready. It seems recently there's a shift happening in the energy in the world around us, within us. I'm not sure, actually, which it is. Maybe both. Maybe all of it. But something is coming forward now, asking, almost demanding, that we begin to pay closer attention, that we do a better job of what we do. It's as if there's a part of the world that has shifted to the place of show us what you really mean, or show us who you really are, or you can't get away with it anymore. Or maybe all of those. As if a level of consciousness has now surfaced within the larger realm of humanity itself, calling us forward and asking us to step into what we know is true, to be it, to walk our talk, as a friend of mine would say, to be in that choosing moment, to stay present, and to call forth what we want. I had a moment yesterday where all of this sort of came together in my experience. I was struggling with something in the greenhouse. My hands were full. I was trying to manipulate a plant into a pot without spilling what was in my other hand. And I found myself feeling frustrated and getting irritable when it suddenly dawned on me that I could simply ask for what I wanted. And so I turned it around and I said, help me to put you in this pot. Help me to make this happen. Please help me. And suddenly everything became easy. Everything went just exactly as it needed to, and the struggle was gone. In an instant, it transformed from an irritating moment to an uplifting moment, to a moment where I could stop long enough to appreciate the little plant I was putting into the pot, the soil that was going around it, the life all around me, and the joy that I actually experience in this process of planting and growing living things. It was noticeable to me because it was such a shift and so abrupt and sudden in the transformation of the experience. And I realized again that this is what we are being asked in the moment of now to do, to be, to step in and make the request for what it is we choose, rather than our old habits and patterns of looking out at the things that are not working and complaining about them, rather than responding with irritation or impatience when things don't go exactly as we want them to. When things don't go exactly as we want them to, we have the opportunity to ask for them to change, to choose a different energy, and to ask for what we want. And what I realized in the moment of that experience was that it was my habit of not expecting it to be easy. It was my habit of not anticipating it to be how I chose it to be that was actually the driver in the experience itself. And that in order for me to change the experience, I had to change my habit. I had to actually remember that I do have the power to choose, and then remember even further to take the step and choose and ask for what I wanted. I think this is a powerful lesson that is moving across this whole planet right now. And everyone I talk to seems to be going through it in various different levels and degrees. Those who've been working on themselves for some time are finding themselves in a very nice flow where things just fall into place. And they are indeed taking the time before they start their day, before they begin a particular activity, before they take on a particular task, to stop and remind themselves what it is they are going for, what they want, what the outcome they are seeking is, and what they are asking for. And when we do this, everything shifts. But it's a new habit to build, and it takes a little time. So it doesn't help us to be impatient with ourselves when we find ourselves irritated or frustrated. Those are the moments for us to step back, remind ourselves that we are still learning, and this is a new game, and we can learn to play it, and move on to the next thing. But what a delicious thing it is to be able to start each day remembering that we get to choose and taking the time to ask for what it is we want. To ask the energies around us to assist us in those things we are seeking, to help us to find our best day, to help us to find the best outcome for those things we are seeking to accomplish, to help us to reach those things we wish to accomplish and attain in any given moment, whether it's soothing a crying baby, having a great conversation with a spouse or a loved one, or simply figuring out how to get a pot to go around a plant in the greenhouse without spilling all the soil. The level of the task, or the depth of the question, or the severity of the potential positive or negative outcomes is not the issue. Those are all of the variables that really don't matter as we learn and move through this change of how we be in the world. Because the further we go, the more we realize that those points of view, those attachments to those outcomes, are the very thing we're learning to let go of. And it's in the letting go of our attachments that we are able to step into a place of being in gratitude before the outcome is accomplished. I think that's really what's happening here. And it's interesting because, as a friend of mine said, it's not attachment or detachment. It's kind of neither. It's this neutral place where you're more engaged with the way in which you interact with the world than in the actual thing you're involved with in the moment. It's because we're moving into a new dance, I think. And this new dance is asking us to learn some new steps, some new ways of being within ourselves and with the world. And in order to learn them, we have to let go enough of outcomes, of circumstances, of our attachment to ourselves in this moment in life, of our attachment to our positions and to our relationships and to our standings and to our thinking about who we are. We have to kind of step into a place of spontaneity and of the looseness of childhood, of what it is to simply be in a moment and be so present that we pay attention not to the specific details and all the other parties involved and all the other contributing factors, but instead to how we feel, to how we are, to who we are, and to our presence energetically in that moment. And that is more or less childlike. To simply be in the space where there's room to feel how you feel and act accordingly and make choices to bring those feelings to those that we choose, rather than simply falling off the cliff into the most easily accessible energetic that presents itself, which may or may not take us anywhere close to where we want to go. Sometimes I think it's a socialization issue. We've learned so many patterns of how to respond and what to say. We have vocabulary that goes on for days, that is made up entirely of phrases and statements and comebacks and responses and reactions, all of which are built on a social structure that is designed to keep everybody moving forward towards goals that they have not even chosen, towards goals that don't belong to them in the first place, never did, and aren't actually even of any interest to them. But we've all become so habituated to going for what it is we're supposed to be doing, to accommodating the outer picture to become what it is everyone says we're supposed to become, that we've lost touch with ourselves and with the thing within us that knows everything. The being and becomingness of us, which operates as a living, breathing soul in the universe, in the now moment, calling forth everything that is our experience. And we forget, I think, that this is why we're here. And now, in the midst of this world full of crazy outer experiences, here comes this dance being offered to each and every one of us to remember that we have the power to choose. Not only do we have the power to choose, we have the power to ask for what we want. And when we remember and when we ask, the world shifts on a dime and hands it to us on a silver platter. Literally, in the moment. We feel it, we experience it, and we are transformed in that moment by the experience because it carries us back to the knowing of ourself. And it's that knowing of ourself within all of this, because that knowing of ourself is the knowing of the self which is both within and outside of all of this. It's that larger self of us who chose to come here and who is still choosing. And when we reconnect with that, everything in the world that we know changes, and it changes for the better. And it shows us easily, simply, and directly how to get what we want. And how what we want, when we want from the place in our heart that wants for everyone, that wants the best, that it's right in front of us. And all we have to do is ask. That's a profound lesson. And in my experience this week, I have encountered numerous people who are experiencing that precise lesson right now. and having the experience of it delivering to them precisely what is needed in the moment for them to come to a new understanding of a situation, a relationship, a decision, and the world itself. We do indeed live in miraculous and wonderful times, and I, for one, wouldn't miss it for the world. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for listening. Talk soon.